was an ordinary Tuesday night at Walmart, or so I thought. There I was, restocking cans of beans and cleaning up after hurried shoppers, when I saw her. A woman about 60 years old, with wild gray hair and sunken eyes, dressed in a tattered shawl and mismatched shoes. She was standing alone in the frozen food aisle, staring blankly at a pack of chicken nuggets. "Can I help you, ma'am?" I offered, trying to sound as friendly as possible. She didn't respond, just kept staring at the chicken nuggets. It felt odd, but I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was just having a hard day. For the next few hours, I saw her roaming around the store. Each time I offered help, she'd just mumble something under her breath and walk away. Her presence was unsettling, but I told myself it was just another odd day at Walmart. The clock struck 10, and it was time for my break. I was desperate for a breather. I walked towards the break room, and just as I was about to open the door, I heard a soft whimper. I turned to see the old woman, now standing in the corner, near the restrooms. It was weird, but I figured she needed help. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I asked, walking towards her. Her head turned towards me, and she whispered, "The others, they're here." Before I could ask what she meant, the lights in the store began to flicker. I jumped, looking around to see if anyone else was experiencing this. But it was just me and the old woman. The flickering grew intense, and then, as abruptly as it started, it stopped. The store was now plunged into darkness. I felt my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear the old woman's soft sobbing nearby. I fumbled to find my phone and turned on the flashlight. I scanned the room slowly, and what I saw next sent shivers down my spine. All the products had been thrown off the shelves, littering the floor. The freezers were wide open, their contents strewn about. But the most terrifying part was the faint whispers I could hear, seemingly coming from within the store itself, saying, "We are here." The woman's words echoed in my mind. "The others, they're here." I felt a cold dread seep into my bones. I called out to the woman but got no response. I shined the light towards her last known location, but she was gone. My pulse raced as panic set in. The whispers grew louder, and I could hear footsteps approaching. Suddenly, my phone's light flickered and died out, plunging me back into darkness. The whispers got closer and louder. "We are here." I tried to run towards the exit, but tripped over a can of beans, sprawling onto the mess on the floor. I could hear the footsteps getting closer. I was in absolute terror, petrified and unable to move. Suddenly, the lights came on. The whispers stopped. The store was back to its usual state. The old woman was standing at a distance, staring at me with those sunken eyes. As I stood up, she turned and walked away, disappearing into the aisles. I was left there, alone and shaking, in the haunting silence of the store. Working the night shift at Walmart was a job like any other for me. Most nights were routine, filled with stocking shelves and counting inventory. But there was one night that will forever be etched in my memory. It started like any other. I clocked in at 10 p.m., ready to embrace the solitude of the empty store. My coworker, Jim, was already there, finishing up his shift. He was a quiet guy, always keeping to himself. He left without much of a goodbye, leaving me alone in the cavernous store. I began my usual routine, walking around, scanning the aisles with the overhead lights casting long shadows. I always found the store creepy at night. The mannequins seemed to watch me, their blank eyes following my every move. But tonight, the vibes were different, more unsettling. An hour into my shift, I heard a soft scraping sound coming from aisle 7, the toy aisle. I shrugged it off, thinking it was probably just a fallen toy. When I went to investigate, I found a toy car mysteriously moving on its own, rolling back and forth. I stopped in my tracks, my heart pounding. I dismissed it as a trick of the light, or perhaps a faulty mechanism. Soon after, I heard a child's laughter echoing through the store. Now believe me, I'm not one to scare easily, but that chilled me to the bone. I froze, my skin prickling with dread. I rationalized it as my mind playing tricks on me due to lack of sleep. But then, I saw it. A small shadow darting between the aisles. It was too quick to be a figment of my imagination. I mustered up my courage and decided to investigate. As I turned the corner, I saw a small boy with an old-fashioned sailor suit, like something out of a 1940s movie. He looked at me with hollow eyes and disappeared into thin air. I stumbled backward, gasping for air. My heart pounded in my chest as I raced to the break room. I remember thinking, this can't be real. It's just a dream. I made it to the break room and locked myself in. I tried to calm my racing heart, convincing myself it was just my imagination, tiredness playing tricks on me. But as I sat there, I heard the sound of small footsteps outside the door, followed by a whispering voice. Ready or not, here I come. I sat frozen, my heart pounding in my chest as the door handle started to jiggle. The lights flickered and then went out. I reached for my phone, but the battery was dead. The room was pitch black, and all I could hear was the sound of my own breathing, interspersed with the boy's soft laughter. I don't know how long I sat there, but when I finally gathered the courage to leave, the sun was rising. I walked out into the deserted store, everything seemingly back to normal. I clocked out and quit the very next day. I don't know exactly what happened that night, and I don't want to. All I know is that something haunts the night shift at Walmart, and I never want to find out what it is. I was a senior in high school when I took up the night shift at a 24/7 convenience store. As the name suggests, it was open all day and all night, a lonely beacon of fluorescent light in an otherwise quiet neighborhood. My job was simple: restock the shelves, man the cash register, and occasionally help a lost soul find their much-needed midnight snack. The first few nights were mundane, punctuated only by the eerie silence and occasional customer. But then, on one particularly quiet night, weird things started to happen. I heard a soft hum from the back of the store, followed by the flicker of lights. I brushed it off as nothing but the old wiring playing up. The next night, the hum grew louder, and I noticed a chill in the air. I shrugged, thinking it was just the AC acting up. However, every time I walked past aisle 6, the canned goods section, I felt an inexplicable sense of dread, like someone or something was watching. The following night, things escalated. The humming had morphed into a low growl, and the lights in aisle 6 began flickering every time I approached. The cans began to fall off the shelves on their own. I ran to aisle 6, but there was no one there, just a cold breeze that sent chills down my spine. On my 4th night, at exactly 2 a.m., the store's front door creaked open, and a shadowy figure walked in. Tall, dressed in a dark coat, face obscured by a hat. He walked straight to aisle 6, and then disappeared. I rushed to the aisle, but there was nothing. Just an icy cold, and the cans once again tumbling to the floor. Each night, the man would appear at exactly 2 a.m., walk to aisle 6, and vanish. I was terrified, but determined to get to the bottom of it. I decided to confront the figure. I waited until 2 a.m., and as he walked down the aisle, I approached him, mustering every ounce of courage. As soon as I was within reach, he turned. I expected to see a face, but there was only darkness under the hat. I stumbled back in fear, and then everything went black. When I came to, it was morning, and the store was back to normal, like nothing had happened. I quit the job that day, and since then, I've never set foot in Benny's or any other convenience store past midnight. I still don't know who, or what, that shadowy figure was, and frankly, I don't want to.